or while they're on paper if they're in the community. Because we know Wisconsin's median sentence is not accidental at 15 years. And for different particular communities, particularly communities of color. So we know a constitutional right is voting. Tell us what your thoughts are about that.
Again, another very good question. So, as it is right now, as it stands right now, I believe voting constitutionally is a right. A lot of other people believe it's a privilege, and we don't have to point those people out. They speak for themselves quite loudly. When they try to rescind or retract voting rights legislation from 65 and others. So again, to me, it's directly connected to my citizenship. I'm less than or half of or 25% of a citizen, all while I can't vote. And as of right now, in the state of Wisconsin, I would not be able to vote until I'm pushing 70. And it would be different, maybe if I did something political, maybe if I, did something with the money, or did something with a ballot, or, heaven forbid, I did something political, which would negate my constitutional right to be able to vote. Well, I didn't. And, I'm being held accountable for, the poor choices that I did make, being on paper going forward. However, connected to taxes, well, paying taxes but not being able to vote, I'm kind of having a little deja vu, for the history buffs. I'm not going to go over to Lake Michigan and throw some Lipton over. But again,
that's expensive,
right? Especially when inflation these
right.
days. But I feel, me being genuinely me as a citizen, me being authentically me, it's connected to my right to vote. Now let me explain what that means to me personally. Okay, so I'm from one of the most incarcerated zip codes in the world. Not in this state, in the world. So being from that zip code, you would think I would have a say-so in what happens to uplift and engage and heal that community. However, I'm the last one, if I'm spoken to at all, when it comes to a solutions-based conversation. So that is connected to, once they realize Ramiah cannot vote, I'm technically not your constituent, well, that's when the ears turn off. Now, your general political figure, I won't say politician, your general political figure will listen. That's early in their career. They learn how to shake hands and kiss babies, and they do that. But then after so long, after the photo op, that's when they start asking, well, is Ramiah a constituent? Can he even vote? They ask these questions because it's about that type of power. When they find out me and the people I represent, we can't, they stop listening. However, this is why I still like doing what I do, because I believe in hope. I am a living testament with what happens with hope. So I can't vote. We will change that, but as of right now, again, pushing my 70s, here's what I do know within reach possibilities that we currently do. Every woman and man currently incarcerated is connected or knows someone that knows someone who can vote. I guarantee you, and part of the work that I do today is going in those trenches and saying, hey, ask this question. Does your mom vote? Does your dad vote? Does your sister vote? Does the kids of your mother, does the father of your kids, do they vote? Are they registered? Are they eligible? Do you know what the process is? Do you know anyone from the League of Women Voters?
I know Sarah.
You need to figure out how to get registered. So connected to, unlocking that vote. That unlocks possibilities. That unlocks success stories across the board. So when you have a community, again, the most incarcerated zip code in the world, when you can invest and engage them and say, wait a minute, you want to change those potholes the size of pools right there in your, on your street. When you want to change that, instead of only giving them consequences, give them the right to vote. again, if they want to play, have debates on, they put all these different limitations and they strike this and restrict that. If a person is paying taxes, that person, including me, should be represented. I should be represented. So again, that's what it means to unlock that vote. That's what it means to constitutionally be counted as a citizen of the state of Wisconsin and of the United States of America. I would like that, and I would like you guys to support me in those efforts, and the upwards of 40 to 60,000 people who are doing what they're supposed to do. Again, it's not like we're peddling here saying, hey, we're not pulling on the sympathy strings. These are women and men paying taxes for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, still don't have the opportunity to cast a ballot. So again, ask the candidates those types of questions. Because again, as long as I'm investing in myself and I'm investing in the community, here's the thought, why not? So why not? That's all I got on the list. Oh wait, follow-up questions you guys ask me, anything you would like, I'll be as transparent as possible. Again, thank you for listening to me just go on and on and on. But again, I'm only paying it forward. I'm only giving back what's been given to me. If I tried to hold it, it would be like corralling the wind. Good luck with that. Questions?
Questions, comments? Questions or comments for Ramiah? Yes.
When you release, do you have to go back to the zip code that you were incarcerated, where you committed a crime? Or do you have the choice to go where the jobs are, where the, you know what I mean, where you could afford to live?
Right. So on average, a returning person, on average, has to return to at least the county where they got the arrest. There are possibilities where if you have support systems and it's vetted and it's approved way ahead of time, that you can locate to another zip code or another demographic. However, a greater percentage of the time, our returning women and men return to the zip code or to that demographic where they were arrested. But it is possible, again, to relocate. A lot of times it happens after a person releases. And then they just don't want to, I won't say that. I was going to say, it's money. Some people don't want to go through the process. Again, so they come home, and the odds are, or the bet is, that Ramiah will mess up before the paperwork's done. Therefore, don't do the paperwork.
It's you gotta make all new friends. You gotta go on you know what I mean? You have to change. If you just go do the same thing, they keep sending you back there.
Again, okay, the system is designed. They say the system's broken. The system is not broken. The system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. So let's switch that narrative up a little bit. The system works. So the system has been created to exclude me, or people like me, or people from my demographic, or people from my zip code, and the system works 100% well. The buy-in, they can silence me at the drop of a dime. They've done it before. They did it for 25 plus years. They did it when they waived me at 17. They did it when they put me in the juvie system at 8. Okay, as a runaway. What do you think I was running from? I wasn't just a bad kid that woke up one day and said, well, I just want to run away because I don't like that you didn't give me 2 cookies instead of 1. I was running from trauma. That's what I was running from. And then the solution to that was lock me up. That caused more trauma. So from 8, 9, 10, 11, again, I'm not making excuses. It's not a blame game. There's enough to go around, but I hold my own. But the point is, when you have buy-in from the community, from the volunteers, from the people in this barbershop right now, that makes those with power listen. They can silence me, but they cannot silence all of you. That makes the difference. So if you give me the option or the alternative to say, Ramiah, we don't want you to do drugs, we don't want you to do alcohol, we don't want you to hang with those people, then please embrace me when I come home. You told me what not to do. If you give me a shot, I can bag the groceries at Pick and Save. I will bag the groceries at Pick and Save. I'll change the air in your tire. I'll mow your lawn. I will do the work. I'll clean Chapter Mayhaw. I'm channeling you right now. I will clean the toilets
At the campground.
at the campground. Give me a chance. When I see you invest in me, it shows me a mirror of what's possible, and then I will follow your lead. So again, when we invest in people coming home, we also have to follow through with walking them through it. And you have allies in this work that have lived experience. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I get emails every single day. I got one, and I'll start wrapping up right now. I got one earlier today of another. I'm gonna bring the spirit back up. I'm gonna lift the mood back up, but I have to share it because this is reality for me. Another death at New Lisbon. It could have been natural. It could have been related to some chronic situations. I respect HIPAA and everything, but I shared it because this happens. It continues to happen, you know. And I'm sharing it here today is because the reason I'm sharing it is because a lot of these things happen behind closed doors. They happen when we blink. They happen when we look the other way. They happen when we get caught up in the news cycle to say, well, that thing over there with that war going on, you know, that bids our attention more. And under those auspices, we lose people. We lose people literally, we lose people mentally, we lose people socially, psychologically, every single day. So, to round it back up, we not only give them the blueprint and share it with them, what Tamara does, what I do, what Bill does, what Jerome does, what Dennis does, what the EXPO team does, what the free team does, collectively with other organizations and affiliates and partners like the League of Women Voters, another plug.
Open Circle Church.
And you know, and the reason why I shout them out is because they taught me how to register and do all that stuff, and I can't even vote. But I know how to get registered, and I know how to navigate that whole system. So I'm sharing that to say this. The people with the lived experience, the people closest to the problem, usually have one or two solutions. Shout out to my wife who is sitting right there. I'm going to embarrass her right now.
Hey!
And
She put up with something, honey.
she has put up with me. But again, that's an inspiration. Now, I'll bring it back. When I came home, a good majority of our women and men, they either don't have anyone to come home to, or they don't have a community that cares. We can change that. You guys would have shown up at this event if you didn't care. So what I'm going to do, part of my homework, I'm going to go back and answer emails and say, you know, that people in politics event that we had at Fox Cities, and the one that we had at Racine and Kenosha and Milwaukee and Madison, we are showing these men and women that we care. Yes, that are still incarcerated. They say, Ramiah, where's all the love? I didn't run from Milwaukee to Madison just for kicks and giggles, 80 plus miles, sub-zero weather, and I do it again. And I do it again, because I'm not running for me. I'm running on the love that you guys instilled in me. That's where I'm going to drop the mic. Thank you.
Drop it.
Love you.
I love that guy. Woo, he was a lot of work. You could barely see over the podium when we were in the gym. I loved it, but he had power, fire, and let me tell you just really quickly what this young man has become and what he did behind bars while he was still there. To invite other men to believe there was hope and possibility and shared your stories when you came in. It's changed hundreds, if not thousands of lives who are still sitting there with hope and writing him every day. Please help me. So give it up one more time for this young man. I watched it. And the last thing I wanted to add to your question, and any other comments or questions. So the difference too, you said, you know, do they have to go to the same areas? There's a plan. It takes a lot. Social workers have, you know, 120, 200 people on their caseload. In order for the transfer to happen, because I worked inside and I worked with people who did get a transfer, is that it takes so many steps that one, the community has to agree that you're coming to. So they have to accept you first. There has to be someone who puts the paperwork in. Then there has to be a commitment to a job and a safe place to live, so they can't just release there to the shelter, right? So all of these, like, and the community has to look at, and will likely look freely at CCAP, which The state of Wisconsin's one of the only places in the country that you can type in Lizetta's name and find out how many traffic tickets she's had, or when she was arrested for burning her bra or whatever else she did back in the 60s, right? But you literally, any of you are on there for a ticket, but everything, even if we were just charged but not convicted, it says to the employer, first degree intentional homicide, dismissed, you're not allowed to consider this. Do you honestly think someone's gonna look at the CCAP and be like, oh, they dismissed your murder? Come on in, over here to Outagamie, right? It's so the underworked, not enough people, and you have to have a real solid commitment for someone to say that. Yes, Jenny?
And if you would like to move to another state, there's a process called an interstate compact, which costs money. $150
Then you have to pay.
that you have to pay, and
At 11 cents an hour.
at 11 cents an hour, if you're lucky enough to have employment while you're in there, if you want to call that employment. However, that is the state of Wisconsin. Say I wanted to move to Florida. That's the state of Wisconsin and the state of Florida working on that. And I've just watched them do this to someone. They had their calendars messed up. Those girls were denied that move, had to pay another $150, and it usually takes 3 months. So now this has taken 6 months. One of them was able to move. One of them had to go back and forth, trying to establish their housing and their life and get a job. So again, when Ramiah says the system is designed to work as it does, he's not kidding. That could have seriously derailed this specific thing. That could have completely derailed everything that they were working hard to try to do. And here's the other thing. They wanted to move to this specific state because the length of her paper would have taken her probably another 10 years to drop. So by moving to Florida, they were able to, Florida doesn't mess around with felony paper. You're on paper for a certain amount of time and boom, you're done. Not like the state of Wisconsin.
Our neighbors do that too. So Minnesota and Illinois cap it at 3 years. But the excessive supervision here is, again, the median sentence for particular communities is 15. And you're gonna hear a little bit more about that, but I wanna make sure, just one last comment to what you were asking about that. One, imagine returning people back to where the worst moments in their life happened, which you're saying. For women, their pathways to prison are 75% related to domestic violence and upwards of 85% sexual assault. And they don't have the same opportunity, I'm not knocking you gentlemen, to be able to get the skills for a living wage job. Most women come out and do service. I can bring you your burger, I can, waitress your table. And their primary caregivers are their children. So to add all of that on top of it, why wouldn't we as a community, and here's my ask to you all, or idea, if your interest in all this passion that's in this room, invite us to your next community event. Have us have these conversations. The community really believes what the website says on the Department of Corrections. We're here to rehabilitate people. They don't have workers that can rehabilitate people because nobody wants to work there anymore. Act 10 really changed everything, and they're suffering. Nobody's winning. The individuals who work there, the individuals who live there, but your voice, your representation, and bringing folks for us to work together to have a conversation about what reimagining justice could look like. Imagine the power what we get in rooms with folks who have some of the other power we don't. So let me get to your question, but you are right, sister. It is so difficult that people go right back to where they were. And I just worked with 3 different women in the last week that called me. One called me at 4 o'clock in the morning and said, I don't want to sleep with him. He threw me out naked. It was about 3 weeks ago. He threw me out naked. I have no clothes. Can you do something? Because she has to return to a relationship that she doesn't want to be in. I know this sounds crazy, but if that was her pathway there and she didn't meet any other cool partnerships in the community and we don't have housing for people, what is she's got a couple choices. Even the shelters are full and it's not safe. Most of us are trauma survivors. So put me back in a shelter where it's very unpredictable and I know nobody, with my little box of goodies, and wonder why I can't make any forward headway. So, to you, young lady,